you the lighthouse shine on me. Oh, shine on me. Oh, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. The verse says something like this. I heard the voice of Jesus saying, come to me and rest. Lay down thy weary one. Lie down thy if you know it all together, shine on me, Lord, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. How to need the Lord to shine on you. Shine on me, Lord, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Come on, let's give God a hand clap of praise. Come on, let's give God a hand clap of praise. Amen. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Amen. If you're up to no good, you don't want to let the light shine on you. Amen. Folk that ain't up to no good, they hide from the light. But God, I want to glorify you. Shine on me, God. Paul said it this way, follow me as I follow Christ. Don't do as I say, do as I do. Amen. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Word of God today, we're going to look at a couple scriptures. The first one, Genesis 45, 16 through 20. This is what the scripture says. The news soon reached Pharaoh Joseph's brothers have come. Pharaoh was very happy to hear this, and so were his officials. Pharaoh said to Joseph, tell your brothers to lead their pack animals, lead their pack animals and return quickly to their homes in Canaan. Tell them to bring your father and all of their families and to come here to Egypt to live. Tell them Pharaoh will assign to you the very best territory in the land of Egypt. You will live off the fat of the land. And tell your brothers to take wagons from Egypt to carry their wives and little ones and to bring your father here. Don't worry about your belongings, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. And then we'll read Exodus 1:11-16. And this is what the scripture says. So the Egyptians made the Israelites their slaves and put brutal slave drivers over them, hoping to wear them down under heavy burdens. They forced them to build the cities of Pithom and Ramses as supply centers for the king. But the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more quickly the Israelites multiplied. The Egyptians soon became alarmed and decided to make their slavery more bitter still. They were ruthless with the Israelites, forcing them to make bricks and mortar and to work long hours in the fields. Then Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, gave this order to the Hebrew midwives, Shiphrah and Puah. When you help the Hebrew women give birth, kill all the boys as soon as they are born. Allow only the baby girls to live. And then finally, verse 22. Scripture says, then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people: throw all the newborn Israelite boys into the Nile River, but you may spare the baby girls. Title of today's word is, we will remember. We will remember. Now, unfortunately for you, today I'm preaching a sermon that a lot of folk don't like to hear. Some folk just come to church just to feel good. Amen. But I'm going to preach it anyway. Many mistake the meekness of Jesus for weakness. But folk must truly understand that Jesus has multiple personalities. And yes, he's identified as a lamb, but please don't forget he is also known as a lion. Many listening to my voice have been indoctrinated by an intentionally flawed theology, which has caused you to be a passive participant in the genocide of people of African descent. I must admit that it is diabolically ingenious to manipulate faith as a tool to convince people to destroy themselves. It's evil to get a baby, or easy to get a baby to go to sleep while rocking them if you give them a bottle to suck on. All would probably say that it would be evil, though, to put a depressant in the bottle to cause the baby to become drowsy. And my thoughts are that it would be downright pathetic to know that a depressant has been slipped in a baby's milk and say nothing about it. This is the reason I can't sit by quietly and passively watching the very thing that God gave us to make us free being used to keep us drowsy, sleepy, and unaware of an unholy genocide staring us in the face. Hard things for Christians to accept and believe. That the very faith that they were taught manipulated the scriptures for the sake of genocide. Manipulated the scriptures for the sake of maintaining power. Manipulated scriptures for the sake of keeping you complacent, docile, drowsy, sleepy, and downright uninterested in being better as a whole. That's what folk have done to scripture. Well, tell you this is going to be a silent one right here. Genesis 45. This is what the scripture says in verses 16 through 20. The news soon reached Pharaoh. Joseph's brothers have come. Pharaoh was very happy to hear this, and so were his officials. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers to load their pack animals and return quickly to their homes in Canaan. Tell them to bring your father and all their families and to come here to Egypt to live. Tell them Pharaoh will assign to you the very best territory in the land of Egypt. You will live off the fat of the land. And tell your brothers to take wagons from Egypt to carry their wives and little ones and to bring your fathers here. Don't worry about your belongings, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours." Pharaoh appears to give a warm welcome to Joseph and his family. Pharaoh and his leaders were delighted to have the Hebrews in Egypt. Pharaoh and his leaders promised the new residents prime parcels of land. They clearly understood how difficult it would be for the Hebrews to experience true progress without ownership of assets that retain value or appreciate. Maybe that's why the well-intended folk in this country promised to free Negro slaves 40 acres and a mule, but then quickly changed their tune on that promise. People can never progress depending on somebody else. Amen. I can never truly progress as long as I got my hand in your pocket. I need to be able to put my hand in my own pocket and provide for myself.
Amen.
Pharaoh and his leaders literally told the Hebrews not to worry about their personal belongings. If you got antennas on your head, your antennas should have went off. Sirens should have went off in your head. Tell them don't worry about bringing their personal belongings. He said that they would be taken care of. You don't have to bring your personhood. You don't have to bring you with you. Just bring a body. Because that's all we're going to need. We don't need you to bring your culture. We don't need you to bring your stories. We don't need you to bring your memories. We don't need you to bring your praise report. We don't need you to bring anything. Now, don't bring leave your photo albums at the house. After a while, you're going to forget about grandma. After a while, you're going to forget about what granddaddy did. Leave your personal items back in your homeland. We got everything you need. But it's that statement that opens the door to decline. Ain't nothing wrong with moving. Ain't nothing wrong with spreading your wings out. Ain't nothing wrong with spreading your legs out and trying some new things and trying some new places. It's when you leave you. Home is where the decline starts. When who you are is not valued where you're going, and you choose to leave who you are back where you came from. That's where the decline begins to start. Because I would argue that it's our personal belongings that remind us who we are and where we came from. It's our personal belongings that remind us who we are. When I look back at the pictures and I see my family sitting in my great-grandfather's house in Quitman, Georgia, and I see the pictures and see Papa sitting in a rocking chair. And we see 30, 40 folks sitting in the living room, sitting around just listening to him. And then it triggered something in my mind about what I used to experience and where I came from. And then what it does today, it makes me value where I come from. It makes me value putting something inside of my children and my grandchildren. For me, what it personally did when I had grandchildren, anybody can tell you that any board that I served on, if they met on Fridays, I wrote a letter of resignation. Because I need to spend time. I don't know how long I'm going to live. I got folk that don't like the fact that I ain't scared. And they send me threats. I ain't scared of dying, but I'm scared of not putting what God put in me in my children and my grandchildren. That's right. And so I say, well, as long as I can have, I'm going to put something in my grandchildren. And so every Friday I tell my children, y'all can just drop them all off at the house. And we just going to hang out all day long. And the one thing they will know when they grow up is who their papa was. We have to value where we come from. Value who we are. Y'all saw me this morning doing my grandbaby's hair. I love that. Yes, sir. I want her to be able to remember when she sat up and Papa's laughing. Papa did the best he could. That's what I did for my daughter. After my first marriage didn't work out, and I still had a daughter to raise. She ain't go to school with the best hairstyles. But somebody can tell somebody touched their head that morning. And every now and then when I got a little time, I'll take her to her grandma's house. And grandma was a beautician, and her grandma would do something every couple of weeks. But Daddy had to go and thank God for ponytails. Can't braid, but I bet you I can put that ponytail up there and get it tight enough to wear it home through school. But people remember not necessarily what you did, but they always remember all the details of how you made them feel. Were you there when my personal belongings told them, say, don't worry about your personal belongings. But my personal belongings, they remind me of who I am and where I came from. A place where we were dependent on no one and equipped with our own intellect and resources. I had some things I went through. And the Hebrews were going through some things at that moment. They were at a down moment when they decided to come. But they had also experienced some productivity in life also. And it's all of those stories that make us who we are. I can't just hold on to the good times in life and make y'all think that my life has always been good and that my life has always been together. There are some down moments in my life that I value just as much. There are some sufferings in my life that I value because it's who I am. It made me who I am. If it were not for the negatives in my life, I wouldn't be the man that I am today. If it were not for the mistakes, I wouldn't be who I am today. If it were not for the struggles, I would not be who I am today. I embrace the struggles. I love the struggles because what it tells me when I'm standing on the mountaintop that I didn't just get here all by myself because somebody gave it to me. But I was able to fight it, and when I didn't have bootstraps to pull up because folk would burn our bootstraps when we tried to build our own communities. Folk would take our bootstraps when we tried to build our own identities. When I didn't have bootstraps, I learned how to walk with no shoes on. And didn't lay down and complain. And so my personal belongings are the very thing I'm going to need when I get in this strange land and need to draw on my ancestors. Need to draw on who I am, and don't worry about your personal belongings. Just come on over here with us. Need your personal belongings. We got everything you need. That's the first sign that things were about to go wrong. When somebody wants to put you in a position to where you need them, your antennas need to go up. When somebody wants to put you in a position to where you're dependent on them, your antennas need to go up. As much as I love pastor, I'll never let folk think that they control my livelihood. I'll never allow folk to think that they control my future. No, you ain't bring me in this world. And your actions can't take me out of this world. God blessed me to get here, and God's going to sustain me so I'll never sell out and back up and cower down for fear of what someone else might do. That's where, I love my church. Every church I pastor, I love. But I never gave anybody the power to think that they could make a call or say something or do something that's going to make me cower and do what they want me to do. No, I know who I am. My papa ain't never do it. My daddy ain't do it. My mama didn't do it. And I'm not going to do it. Sent by God, you got to know that wherever you are in life, you were sent by God to do the work. You ought not cower down. You ought not be so dependent on someone to where your tongue is now tied. You can't speak the truth that's in you. Leave your personal belongings. There was this wrestler I saw. I had him on the social media. He was on the news. Young fella, he had these dreadlocks. And it represented, folks try to tell you who you are. Tell me who I am. If I want to name my child Shakuki Leka Makasakatafa, I'm going to name my child what I want to name my child. I'm not going to give my child a name so that you can accept my child. I'm going to name my child what God told me to name my child, and my child will be successful. Because we're not dependent upon you for success. And this young boy, he had these dreads in his head, and the referee going to tell him, you got to cut your dreads before you can wrestle. And foolish people sat by and watched it happen. He who he is. The ref is who he is, but foolish people sat by and watched it happen all for a wrestling match. My child wouldn't have participated. You're not going to cut my child's hair over your silly rule. But many of us, well, you don't know why that child wearing his hair like that. You don't know what that means to him. You don't know how it's connected to that child. Just because you don't wear it like that, you don't get to control the way somebody else display who they are. And they sat there and cut that boy's hair off. Don't you ever leave who you are. I don't care what folk think they control. God owns the earth and the fullness thereof. I don't care if it's corporate, I don't care if it's private, I don't care if it's religious, I don't care what sector it is. You be true to you, and God will provide. Never sell out to be accepted and never forget who you are. It says that back home they were not dependent on anyone else, and they were equipped with their own intellect. Pharaoh gave a warm welcome but told them, leave you home. And then Pharaoh soon changed. Time will bring about a change. Go to Exodus chapter 1, verse 11. After this warm welcome and then this little slight hint to leave you behind. I love who I am. I love who my children and my grandchildren are. I love who my parishioners are. I'm happy and there's no shame. My little grandbaby was singing this song the other day. Both of them would sit back in their car and sing. I can't remember the name of it my first time hearing it, but I told my wife when we went home, but it was called Brown what? Brown Skin. It was called Brown Skin Girl. And both of them, Bella and I, was sitting back in their car seat just singing this Brown Skin Girl song. And I was like, look at that, I'm singing this song. And so I went back and I told my wife, and we sat there and listened to it, and I thought, oh, that's so sweet. Always be proud of who you are. Whoever you are, be proud of who. But if you ever are convinced to leave you back where you came from and go to a new world and forget who you are, that's the beginning of decline. Because as warm as you were welcome, Exodus 1:11 says, so the Egyptians made the Israelites their slaves. Anger changed quick. Come on over, come on over, come on over, come on over. Come on over, Bell, we got you. We got land, we got stuff. Everything that's ours is yours. Oh, this wasn't nothing but the next book. That was in Genesis. And now the next book over in Exodus. So the Egyptians made the Israelites their slaves and put brutal slave drivers over them, hoping to wear them down under heavy burdens. They forced them to build the city of Pithom and Ramses and supplied them for the king. We got you here, now you will make us wealthy. Yeah. You will create wealth for my children and my children's children while you remain stuck and in the muck. And you know how I know you're going to stay stuck? Because you don't know who you are. You left your stuff. You ain't got nothing that's wrong. You can't go home and look and try to remember. I convinced you to leave your stuff home. The climate is now changed from the Hebrews receiving a warm welcome to now being perceived and treated as suspects and targets of systems that have intentions to break down. Unfortunately, we get distracted by trying to identify and remove oppressive people when we should fight with even more tenacity to topple systems that are designed to oppress. School to prison pipelines, racially unjust policies, practices as well as racially biased norms. We just allow that stuff to go on, and we just so happy to be in Egypt. We just so happy to be near Pharaoh. And even when I know Pharaoh ain't treating my people right, at least I got in the big house. I look out the window and I see Pharaoh. I see what Pharaoh's doing to immigrant children. I see what Pharaoh's doing. I see what Pharaoh says about countries that people that have skin that looks like mine. How he wants immigrants from other types of countries, not the country that has skin. I see what Pharaoh is doing. But because Pharaoh feed me well, I ain't gonna say nothing. I won't even go to a church to talk about the injustice. Matter of fact, as the pastor of the church, I won't even talk about it. The Pharaoh might not give me a grant. Pharaoh might start talking about me. All it needed was time. And just a little bit of time. Climate change, and now they're suspects and they're targets. Verses 12 through 14 in Exodus, it says, but the more the Egyptians oppressed, that's what I like about our God. The more the Egyptians oppressed, say the Hebrews were like baby's kids. It said, the more the Egyptians oppressed them, they said the more they kept having babies. They kept beating and beating, but what you understand is when you beat me a day, I'm going home to my wife and I'm just loving my wife. And so what you doing to destroy me is making me stronger. And it said that the more they tried to oppress them, the more they multiplied. And it says, and the Egyptians soon became alarmed. What's going on? What's going on? There's too many. There's too many. Heard this real silly black woman the other day. Candace Owens is her name. Heard her talking the other day. And it's not a curse word, this is a word now. This Negro don't even realize that the stuff she's saying is what folks said about her ancestors. And saying that we can't allow immigrants in this country because they'll become the dominant population if we allow it. Like, does this fool understand what she's saying? Do you realize that time will change the climate? Did Omarosa not teach you anything? Time will change and you can't forget who you are and where you come from. And it said they kept beating, but God's people kept growing and God's people kept growing. They kept oppressing, but God's people kept growing and they kept growing. And the Egyptians became alarmed and decided that to make their slavery more bitter still, we're going to make this thing even rough. We're going to change more policies. We're going to do like they did in Florida. When all the good free people voted to give felons the right to have the voting rights restored, we're going to go beyond that and we're going to say, well, now they got to pay all their fines. They got to do all this other stuff that they never had to do before to have satisfied the conditions. Now, we're going to add all that. We're just going to make it more bitter. We're going to make it worse. We're going to make it tougher because we're going to frustrate them. We're going to frustrate them. They're going to give up. They're going to become hopeless. They're not going to care anymore. They're just going to say, throw in the towel and just forget it. And I'll just become dependent. I'll become the crumbs of the land. I'll become bottom feeders in the land. And it says, we'll make slavery even more bitter still. And it says, but the more they tried to whip the Hebrews into submission, the more the Hebrews flourished. This is where access to your personal belongings serve us well. When you realize that, you know what, I'm being put down and I'm being beat down, but I know exactly who I am. I know what kind of stock I come from. I know what kind of family I come from. I know what got me through. When you know who you are and you can build on and draw on who you are, it does not matter what you go through. And I try to explain to folk all the time, never forget who you are, because who you are is going to get you over a bridge one day, because you're going to be able to draw back and remember that I'm not the only one that's gone through this. And so I'm not going to get in a pity party and curl up because people are mistreating me, people are going to treat me bad. I'm not going to give up on life. I'm going to keep trying hard. A teacher that's not a teacher that tells me I'll never be anything is not going to disappoint me and make me give up. I'm still going to make straight A's. I'm still going to do well in school. Somebody that has no confidence and no faith in me, they're not going to cause me to try, because I remember my uncle, I remember my auntie, I remember my forefathers, and I know that I'm more than a conqueror. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. That this time, when folks are trying to destroy you, is when you ought to be able to draw on what you come from, but you can't draw on it if you don't know anything about it. You ought to be telling your children, you ought to be telling young folk about who they are and what they come from, whether it was good or bad. Tell the story so they can draw off the story. It says in verses 15 through 16, the Bible says that Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, he gave the order to the Hebrew midwives as Shipper and Puah. He said, when you are helping the Hebrew women give birth, I want you to kill all the boys as soon as they are born and allow only the baby girls to live. I'm reading a book right now. Can't remember the title of it, but it's called Man Not. I think it is. But it talks about the stripping of manhood from black men. And there's some that says, you know what? If I can strip away their manhood, if I can strip away their being, if I can strip away their humanity, and here Pharaoh says to the midwives, when the Hebrew women give birth, I want you to kill the boys. Pharaoh tried to influence the Hebrew on Hebrew crime through the system. Other churches, and predominantly black churches, receive social justice as a taboo subject because it may strain their relationship with Pharaoh and his resources, which actually amass off of our backs. But in the 22nd verse of Exodus chapter 1, the Bible says, it says, then Pharaoh, he gave the order to all his people, throw all the newborn Israelite boys into the Nile River, but you can spare the baby girls. Pharaoh
country. But after the Civil War and the ending of slavery, land was promised, as in the case of the Hebrews. But that promise was soon reversed through the passing of laws and law systems. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. Although slavery was legally ended, new forms of slavery were implemented through Jim Crow laws that attempted to nullify any progress made through Reconstruction in these new systems of slavery. Systems were implemented that were brutal, but the descendants from Africa, they still thrived like baby's kids. They multiplied. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. It was at this point when systems encouraged black on black crime, and even now systems on black crime. I often wonder how people that claim to be of high morals and so religious can so often seem to consistently devalue black lives. And I then read this study which answered my question. Sociologists Keith Guilty and Eric Swank, they say, I have observed by eliminating savages is a less moral problem than eliminating human beings. And therefore American Indians came to be understood as a lesser race, uncivilized savages, thus providing justification for the extermination of native peoples. If you don't respect my humanity, don't look at me as a human, can't see me as a man born in the image of God, you will not respect my humanity and feel good about yourself treating me as a savage. This country, I know right now, I'm about to step on some toes. When they read it on social media, they gonna get mad because I'm supposed to commit everything I am to the flag that's red, white, and blue. But the red, white, and blue didn't push me out my mother's womb. The red, white, and blue didn't form me in the image of God. This country, founded on white supremacy and built on the backs of descendants of the mother Africa, says remember the Holocaust, remember the Alamo, remember Pearl Harbor, remember the American Revolution, remember 9/11, but slavery, Jim Crow, come on, that was years ago. You still stuck on that? It's time to move on, and no one else cares about that. You know what? I can't do anything about what others do. Others, they pass me, sit by and watch and even preach a word laced with depressants to keep me dancing, to keep me doing the jig, and to keep me smiling. But I declare that I will die before I forget. The scripture declares in Psalm 139 and 14, it says, I will praise thee. It says, thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous, and how well I know it. What it says in King James, I'm fearfully and wonderfully in his hand. I remember I come from greatness. I remember I'm an overcomer. I remember I can do all things. Anybody in the house refuse to believe their personal belonging, their personal stories in a strange land? Bring it with you. Bring it with you. I remember I'm somebody. I remember I'm created in the image of God. Don't forget. Don't give up. Don't be embarrassed. Don't try to fit in. You're created in the image of God. I dare you to remember. Say yeah. Say yeah. You came as slaves, but you are a man with melanin in his skin. Rose to the position of president of the United States. Your people, they built the house, but your people also live in the house. You remember Barack, Michelle, you remember the daughters, the dog, and the mother-in-law. God said, I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you. But it's up to you to remember. Say yeah. Say yeah. We will remember. We will. Come on, stand to your feet. We have to remember.
You told a story, Rawls.
Nothing wrong with going to a strange land. Nothing wrong with making new friends and spreading your legs out and experiencing new cultures. But never forget your culture. Who you are. Never forget your story. Because it's your story that's going to make this place a better place. It's so good because of all the stories. But when you're intimidated to not tell your story, not walk your ancestry, not be true to your forefathers and foremothers, you weaken the land. Never be embarrassed, no matter what the setting is. I don't care what world it is, wherever you are, it's because God got you there. Don't get there and then forget where you come from. Mordecai had to tell Esther, Esther, you're the queen. But don't forget how you've been. You're one of us. And he's talking about killing us. He's talking about killing you. Don't forget who you are and where you come from. I'm challenging the people about stop getting these blessings that God has given us and then getting out there and then losing who you are. God put you there to bring in the diversity, not just in skin color, but diversity in culture and thinking and ideas. We will remember. Trayvon didn't die for me to forget about it. Philando didn't die for me just to forget about it. That brother didn't, with his mouth, say, I can't breathe, for me to forget about it. Nat Turner didn't die for me to forget about it. Preacher Denmark Vesey didn't suffer for me to forget about it. Dr. King didn't march for me to forget about it. Muhammad Ali didn't protest for me to forget about it. Colin didn't kneel for me to forget about it. I will not be intimidated to rep who I am. This is who I am. Doesn't take away from who you are, but I certainly can't leave who I am back in a strange land and become dependent on you for survival. I will never, and we will never forget. Somebody today needs to make a serious decision. I normally give you 3, I'm going to give you 4 opportunities today. There's somebody
that needs to give their life to Christ. Never forget what he did for you when you didn't even love yourself. Don't forget that. If you'd like to give Christ your life, come and kneel at this altar. If you'd like to recommit your life to Christ, come and kneel at this altar. If you need a church home that's going to preach what you need to hear, not what folk want you to hear, but what you need to hear. And you like to make St. Paul your church home, you come and kneel at this altar. If somewhere along the line you forgot, and you need for God to make a true commitment to God, God, you blessed me to go in this space. And I got in this space and start changing my name, start changing my hair, start changing all this stuff. But God, I will remember where I come from. If you got in that space and forgot who you are, when I shoot you, where you come from, and you'd like to now make a commitment to God, say, God, I remember. I want you to come and kneel at this altar. You got 15 seconds to come. If I called your number, come and kneel at this altar. You got 15 seconds.